Good morning, dear journalists. On our agenda we have, I think for today, three priority questions. The first one is weapon packages, new weapon packages for supporting our army on the battlefield, and that is one. The second, I think, the invitation to NATO, and we want to be on the same page with everybody, with all the understanding. And for today, what we hear and understand that we'll have this invitation when security measures will allow. Yes, so I want to discuss with our partners all these things, and the sword will speak today and fight for this. Its security guarantees for Ukraine on the way to NATO. Thank you so much.
These photos summarize the NATO summit in Vilnius. President Zelensky looks like that annoying and socially awkward person whose presence is not welcomed. However, he is still needed to carry out the fighting on your behalf, sacrifice tens of thousands more of his countrymen for the military-industrial complex to pocket tens of billions more money, and more Ukrainian cities are destroyed for the BlackRock and JP Morgan to help the Ukrainian government to reconstruct. I believe NATO refused to give the commitment to Ukraine to join the security alliance because if Western officials were honest with their people, they would say Russia is not losing the war, and the peace agreement is the only exit for this proxy war after agreeing to a new security architecture for Eastern Europe, and that includes a neutral Ukraine. Any other proposal is dishonest, and it is meant to prolong the war. A few more tanks will not change the balance of power in favor of Ukraine. Giving Ukraine F-16s and training pilots is not going to change anything because Ukraine doesn't have functional military airports, and if any are left, they are under the radar of the Russian army. So what are they going to do? Is Ukraine going to use Poland as a departure point for the fighter jets? Do you realize that Poland is a NATO member, and if Russia retaliated, it means direct war? That's right. Zelensky's options are all bitter, but he is to be blamed because every serious and honest person knew from 2014 that the criminal gang of Victoria Nuland has prepared the ground for the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It was all a big scam and a fraud against the Ukrainian people by a falling empire doing whatever it can to stop the rise of a multipolar world. Mr. Zelensky, you didn't serve the best interests of your country and your people. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians died for the sake of the US-led empire. You lost 12.7 trillion worth of land and resources because Washington and London told you to reject a peace agreement in the first weeks of the war. And now, after all the sacrifices your people made, and after using them as cannon fodders, your so-called allies do not even want you to be a NATO member. I hope Armenians are taking note and understand Pashinyan's foreign policy approach could end up in a similar disaster, which some may argue it is already the worst disaster since the Armenian genocide.
Зеленского убедили в том, что он находится в центре вселенной, но это не так. Его убедили в том, что Украина важна для НАТО и Запада, и это тоже не так. Зеленский и вся Украина должны осознать, что НАТО приносит их в жертву. Украина никого не волнует. Украина никогда не будет в НАТО, никогда. И саммит в Вильнюсе продемонстрировал реальное положение вещей.
Ez itt Vilnius, kétnapos NATO csúcs találkozó. A legfontosabb kérdés mi más lehetne, mint az orosz-ukrán háború. A magyar álláspont változatlan, ezt fogjuk képviselni. Ukrajnában nem fegyvereket, hanem békét kellene vinni. Tűzszünetre volna szükség, és háború helyett minél hamarabb meg kellene kezdeni a béketárgyalásokat. A magyar álláspont világos, hiszen a háború a szomszédunkban van, és a Kárpátalján élő magyarok miatt magyar emberek 10 000-ei vannak közvetlen veszélyben. Magyarország amellett tör lándzsát, hogy a NATO ne változtassa meg korábbi álláspontját, hiszen a NATO egy katonai védelmi szövetség. Azért jött létre, hogy megvédje a tagállamait, nem azért, hogy más országok területén hajtson végre katonaakciókat. A magyar álláspont most a tárgyalások kezdetén teljesen egybeesik a NATO álláspontjával, hiszen a NATO nem küld csapatokat, nem küld fegyvereket, nem képez ki harcoló katonai egységeket, hanem a saját tagállamai védelmét próbálja megerősíteni. Ez szükséges, helyes, és Magyarország ezt támogatni fogja.